Sup, bitch? It's Finish or Fail 2018. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do the shows.
Yeah.
All the ones that I haven't seen any of yet.
Every anime.
I already covered pretty much the entire summer season back in the Anime of the Week series. And we covered most of the winter season in the Watch Seasonal Bullshit with Us show on the Corrupting Your Kids channel very early this year. There are some shows that we are going to give a second chance to from that, and we'll probably put the full list on screen eventually at some point, but for now, because I don't want to have people fucking telling me what show they want me to watch, for now, we decided to start with, well, first we watched the one that I did the previous vlog about, Golden Kamuy, and then we jumped from that into Musume, a show from PA Works from, I think, was this last season? Was this just one season ago? But
yeah,
but
I
a
think
one?
So.
This show is really fucking weird. What do you think of it so far? Because I stopped us halfway through the first episode.
Yeah, he was like, I don't want to watch the first episode. You know, the main girl, she's like interesting. When they introduced her, she was pretty cute. You didn't get to see all the fan service shots of her because you weren't like looking.
But how could I have not been looking?
I don't know. You said you didn't see the part that I was talking about, so I kind of was curious about how the school was going to be set up. I was kind of, a little bit more curious, but it's pretty trash.
This show is.
I could be a little.
This show is about personified racetrack horses as girls. It's about a bunch of cute girls who are racetrack horses. And, like, they haven't really implied that there is gambling on the horses. But, like, whether there is or not, it seems obvious that this show is made for people who like to gamble on horse races. That's the only people who go to those, right? Or do people just go to see horse races?
I mean, rich people, like, that's a hobby. It's like, oh, I'm going to go see the Derby.
I mean, so...
The Kentucky Derby.
There was once an Evangelion... I mean, gambling's illegal in Japan, so they can't, like, be doing it at the place, right?
I feel like it's
not, like,
different. I think it's different with racing, and it also depends on if it's, like, with a horse, like a jockey, or if it's just, like, horses running. Because, like, you're not supposed to gamble in that way in the U.S., but, like, certain Indian reservations can just have, like, horse tracks,
right.
And, like... So I think it really depends. I don't
think Japan has.
But they
Indian
might do it like pachinko, where it's like you get points and
right.
you can transfer.
I don't know what they do. I just know that there is horse racing, whether it be.
I mean, I don't think
it be gambled on or not, it is a thing.
Why
in
would
Japan.
it exist if you couldn't gamble on it?
And there is definitely an anime crossover market because of the Ava horse. And so, like, a couple minutes into this show, I had to show May the Ava horse. If you haven't seen it before, look up Ava horse.
It's wonderful.
Because there was a trailer for a horse racing company, or like a advertisement for them, made by Studio Kara that depicts an Evangelion shaped like a horse. And it looks really good. And it's really hilarious.
It's better than this anime.
And, like, when I saw that, I couldn't stop thinking about anime marketing and shit and Evangelion, and then I was just thinking about Eva for a while. But then I got stuck back on anime marketing, because I was thinking about PA Works and what they're known for. Because you and I watched Sakura Quest back last year for Finish or Fail, which was a show that was, like, about advertising a town. Because when PA Works, and so there was just a discussion about this on the Akihabara video, I think, yesterday. When PA Works first started, they did a show called True Tears that was set in, like, a specific town. And it was popular with otaku, and they made pilgrimages to that town, and it was a big boost to the economy there. And so PA Works has gone and set about setting all of their shows in, like, weird backwater towns and trying to turn them, like doing tons of, like, location-based stuff in the story to just make that town into an otaku hotspot for fans of that show. And, like, I don't know how well this exactly works, because, like, I don't imagine that the same people are gonna, like, continue with this fad of making pilgrimages to every fucking town that shows up at a show, because that can't stay fun forever.
Yeah.
That can't be something that you're always, like, hyped to do, just because they set some show there.
I don't think Sakura Quest was necessarily about the town, but more of just, like, tourism in general.
Yeah, but, like, it was in a real place, and they intended for that show to become a tourism spot based on the show.
I didn't know if it was, like, more about that show or more about the practice of advertising a show.
I mean, that's what they made the plot about, since that's what the... Like, it's a very... Sakura Quest was really interesting in that regard, in that it didn't feel like... Like, you could tell if you knew the story of the show that it's, like, an ad for this town, but the fact that it's about advertising the town makes it kind of work in a meta way. But that's also what Locadol did, and, like, you know, what was the one? Zombieland Saga is also doing this. Like, it's a real place they're trying to save in the show, and, like, that place can now probably be saved by the show because it is really successful. So, like... This is just something that, like, a bunch of really old dudes in the anime industry are doing as a humanitarian thing. Like, the PA Works guys are, like, super into local business, and they have, like, weird deals with, like, all kinds of local businesses that show up in their shows, and, like one place that's, like, a local to them, like, gets destroyed in Kuromukuro in a scene, and they've got, like, they did, like, a real-life event out of it, or they had an out-of-order sign on something, like, you know, this is the kind of shit that they get up to. So I'm like... Did some horse racing company just, like, pay them?
You should look it up.
Or, like, work with them? I could, but it wouldn't be finish or fail if I did research. It's more just about the weird feeling it gives me when I'm watching it. Because, like, the animation and character art is perfectly fine in this show. And even the directing of it is fine. Like, there's good flow between shots. There's some interesting shot compositions, but the backgrounds are so sterile and lifeless and cheap, and they're so bad, and PA Works usually does so much better. Like, they're kind of responsible, in a way, for the rise in these, like, the kind of backgrounds I complain about, because they did them so well. They did their guy who did the backgrounds for, like, a lot of their shows that are known for backgrounds, like Nagino Asukara and shit. Like, he just does a really good job of that. But it is that style of digital art that's so easily mass-producible. The CD drive on your computer keeps opening at random.
Oh, that's what that noise was.
Yeah.
Well, it's fine. I'll close it when we finish.
So this is all I could think about when I was looking at this show, is, like, in context of what this show seems like to me, it's, like, hard to think of it when the guy's, like, grabbing her legs and he's like, yeah, you got good legs for a horse. The trope here is, like, in classic anime sports shows, there's always, like, the trainer is always groping them. There's always, like, the trainer who comes along and just starts grabbing them all over, but he's like, oh, you're gonna be a superstar because you got the special hands, you know? And then, like, it's like, yeah, even though he's portrayed as, like, possibly creepy, it's just because it's, like, the sheer excitement out of discovering this new talent, you know? He's not a pervert. He's just excited about the sport, you know? But in this show, the guy is, like, portrayed that way, but the sport, if it is in fact gambled on, is already exploitive. It's not a sport where it's like, oh, I'm gonna help you to become the best you can be. It's like, you're going to win lots of money for the Yakuza that I work for, you know? But I don't think it's supposed to be like that in the show. I think it's supposed to be non-gambling. But that doesn't mean it's marketed towards non-gambling horse racing, you know?
Yeah.
At what layer of abstraction does it become weird to me? I have to fucking sneeze really bad. How did you... I don't know, did any of this... Did you feel any of these things?
I definitely did think that when he was groping her, that it was, like... It was extra weird. Like, it was extra seedy.
Because of the fact that they're, like...
It's horse racing. He's at a horse track, and he, like...
It's that...
kept doing it.
You know what it is?
It went way past when it was funny.
It's that this is... The basis of this... These horse girls are, like, another race. Like, they're not human. They have, like, horse ears and a horse tail.
Yeah.
They're, like, some kind of weird demi-human horse girls. And their names are all, like, racing horse names. So, like,
Special weekend.
they are anime-fied racing horses. And it's kind of implied that they are treated like regular humans in society for the most part. And, like, this guy is not just groping a random horse girl and, like, being like, oh, you're gonna be a star. It's like a horse girl who's at the horse race. So, like, assumably horse girls can exist in this world who don't participate in the horse race. These are just girls who want to be horse racer girls. So, like, again, you peel all these layers back and you're like, who, like, is this show... Can this show be construed as innocent somehow?
I think in, like, the opening, the weird, stylized opening, they say that, like, the horses exist only to run. And that they're given, like, the name of a real horse and that they have to run. That's their destiny.
I mean, was that implied to be, like, literal or figurative?
That was what the opening was.
Like, that they are, like, held by law? Or that, like, they just all will inevitably come to this conclusion as is the way of their people?
How did you feel about how it opened?
I just forgotten about it till you mentioned it just now, but I do remember it being weird. Basically, I've just been like, I mean, the backgrounds are so off-putting, and the characters, they're fine, but like, I'm not like into the character designs or anything. Like, it's not a show I'd watch for the girls. Like, they're weird looking. The fact that there's like the American one who just speaks with the stupid fucking stereotypical accent that sounds like shit. And is like, she's got huge tits because she's the American one. And like, I look at that and all I can think is, oh, that one must be for the people who like American horse racing. Because this show can only possibly be made for people who like horse racing. Like, they didn't try to make it impressively cutesy. Oh, until... Wait, this is not the show with the idol thing, right?
Yeah,
that was this.
Yeah, it's the show.
That all happened in just the first half of the episode? Yeah. Jesus Christ. This shit felt long as fuck.
Yeah, it did.
Okay, so I was thinking, like, this show could only appeal to people who like horse racing, and then it turns out that the winners of the horse race then... Suddenly, like, the racetrack converts into a fucking stage, and they do an idol show. And it's like... you know, an anime idol show. And, like, with the glow sticks and everything. And they're just doing an insert song. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, this is so out of left field from the rest of the show.
Yeah.
It's just like a sports horse racing show, but also they become idols. That was this show. I fucking forgot about that already. Because it was so out of nowhere, and then it went away so fast. They didn't mention it again. That should have been the moment that I just hit stop. I think I probably wanted to see if it got weirder from there, but like, Jesus Christ. They just, suddenly they were idols. That was fucking ridiculous. Is there anything else to add? Like, I think that when I think of it that way, it's like, okay, they had to put in insert songs so they can sell tie-in CDs as part of the marketing for the show itself. So like, whereas the point of the horse racing girls is to market horse racing and like get the fans of horse racing to watch it. Like, the idol shit is just there to draw otaku to some dumb idol shit and want to hear some songs. And they'll be like, horse girls and they're singing idol songs? I'm down. Like, horse girls racing is less appealing than horse girls doing idol songs. So let's get them in. I don't know if this is how they thought of it. It just feels like it's the only possible way, because this show feels like as market-driven as humanly imaginable. It's like, Monster Girls are in. There was the Centaur's Life last year sold 30,000 Blu-ray copies. We gotta get the horse girls. Let's put them on the horse track. We'll get the horse track to be our pay for it. Nobody gives a fuck about backgrounds anymore.
Pick an idol.
Throw an idol in there so we can have some inserts on. How are we gonna sell merchandise if they're only horse racing? They have to go all the way to the horse race track. How do we sell merch in Akiba? You gotta have idol songs. You know? Anyway, next show. Alright, so show number 2 that we did was Radiant. This is like another show that's like doing very little. You know, it's kind of, it feels like it's a moving manga. that's adapted as well as you could reasonably expect. The backgrounds are, again, very bland and sterile and lifeless. It just seems like a really generic shonen.
Yeah.
Like the kind that I'm surprised still exists almost. I mean, I guess there will always be the perennial generic shonen.
Yeah, but their gimmick just is that they're sorcerers. Like, they're not, like, anything with an identity. They're just like, we do magic.
Yeah, and there's, like, a lady who just, like, used a spear, and it was, like, she has a big weapon, and she swung it to the sword, and, like, a big energy whirl went through the air. And it's just, like, when you live in, like, a world post, like, Hunter x Hunter, where they've tried to take it as far as humanly possible, or JoJo, like, giving every character the most distinctive power possible, and that's, like, the meta game of shonen, then, like, you go back and watch something where there's just, like, energy waves, you know? And it's like, man, this is kind of embarrassing to have happen now, you know? Like, I'm trying to think of exactly what this reminds me of from my childhood, because, like, this feels like a type of show, like, there's moments that are kind of visually fun, like, there's these elephant-faced cows, these angry elephant-faced cows that just exist in this universe, and at one scene they all get stacked in a big wall after the big energy wave. And, like, I could see me as a 12-year-old watching this show because the protagonist is, like, a young man, and there's action scenes in it, and it's, like, marketed to my demographic. Maybe it's on the Fox box, and there's a scene where a bunch of cows get stacked, and I think, oh, that's funny.
Oh, I got stacked. Stacking cows.
This is the kind of show that would have had, like, one of the worst dubs, though.
It has a dub.
It does have a dub. I wonder how it is. I wonder what kind of market it's for. Because, like, this would have had, like, a 4Kids dub and been on the fucking Fox box. You know?
It would have. This would have been...
That's my review.
They would have gobbled up.
A third-string, late-era Fox box show.
You just, like, pause on the lady in Elma or whatever with, like, the frizzy hair and purple. She's horrifying.
She's really bad.
Why would they make a character like
Here,
this?
I'll just cut to this really just abysmal character design in every conceivable way.
Yeah.
I don't know why I had to zoom all the way in to see that. Alright, we just did the first 3 episodes of Release the Spyce, the new show from Les Deuce, who I've never heard of as a studio. I think they are fairly new. Mm-hmm. And it was really weird, and it felt like a tightrope walk for me. Even more so than, like, Review Starlight, where that show, like, the first episode looked so impressive that it carried me through how boring I thought it was.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it didn't look that impressive anymore, I immediately didn't want to look at it anymore. This show doesn't even look impressive, aside from having really cute girls.
Really cute. Like, some of them are really cute.
Yeah, a few of them, not all of them are equally cute, but, like, a few of the main cast is really cute. Oh god, are we out of fucking space? Hold on. Anyways, this show was not that attractive, but it did have cute girls. Somewhat. And there would be moments where there are animation flourishes, but they're all very, like, Dogakobo-esque. Like, if there's a couple of cute girls doing a cute thing in a scene, it might be animated, like, really uniquely and with kind of some interesting pacing to it. But you only really get that in the slice of life scenes.
Yeah.
You don't get it in the action scenes.
Action scenes.
And each episode is, like, centered around a climactic action scene. And, like, the storyline is very fucking straightforward. Like, first episode is about the girl finds out about the secret organization and she joins it. And the second episode is, like,
her being inducted and shit.
Yeah, they go to the underground base where they've got all the big screens. She trains. And it's like, if you've seen, like, Symphogear, it's the same shit that did. It started, like, with Strike Witches, I guess. Like, I mean, not to say that there weren't tons of, like, mecha shows that were doing this even before that in the 2000s, but, like, you know, just the idea of, like, meet the team, then go to the base, and then mission 1, and then there'll probably be an episode for each character to establish a little more about them, which I wish they had front-loaded, if that is a thing that's going to happen, because, like, maybe knowing more about these characters would make me care about them more, but they don't really spend that much time on the characters.
No.
They spend time, like, talking about the growth of the main girl, and everyone else is just kind of, like, they seem pretty set in their ways.
Yeah, like the main girl and her mentor, like they kind of hint towards at least a little bit of a backstory for her, but for the rest of the characters, like...
I kind of liked that so there's elements of the story that I liked, which are what kept me going through the first 2 episodes. Like, for instance, that the girl who's like the teacher, she takes to it like immediately. Like, she wants to teach this girl. It's not like she had to be strong-armed into it, even though she clearly is somebody who, like, hadn't thought she could take a pupil until now. Mm-hmm. But it kind of feels like she's maturely come to the decision that she now wants a pupil, and this kid has, like, uniquely, really talented, like, senses.
Yeah, how do you feel about that as kind of, like, a character quirk?
Okay, like, in this show... there just seem to be a lot of girls within the same area who have some kind of weird synesthesia superpower where they have, like, super senses. I mean, only the main girl, it's really played up that, like, she can taste people and, like, feel their emotions or whatever and, like, know their state of being. And she also has, like, super sight, super hearing and shit.
But she goes around licking everybody.
Yeah.
Like...
And like, all of them seem to have super strength. Like, they can all just perform crazy feats. So I don't know if they all have the same powers, or if some of them
I don't think any of them have that, like, super strong
level
taste,
of what
because
she has.
they were having her, like, investigate with that.
Yeah, they made her use it for them.
So I feel like she's just the only one with that. The rest are probably, like,
just,
you know, have their own strength
people for some reason.
Yeah.
So, like... but on top of the fact that they all have super strength, they also do drugs to get stronger. Like, so the conceit of this show is five-man team, high school girls, part of, like, an ancient secret society of crime fighting. So it's actually, like, the story is pretty fucking over the top. Like, it's pretty crazy. Because they're, like, fighting shit where it's, like, the stakes are extremely high.
Yeah.
And they are, like, they're, like, putting people down, you know? Like, they're capturing, like, serious criminals, like sex trade offenders and shit, and, like, murderers that they're, like, hunting down with their superpowers and apprehending, leaving them for the police, and, like, clearing any trace of themselves from the scene. So they're kind of like ninjas, but they're also kind of like a Super Sentai Batman, like...
like a little bit James Bondy too.
Yeah, they're like a little bit of anti-heroes because they're like, you know, but they work alongside the law. Like they say that, like, the police are on their side. So they're like kind of vigilante but kind of government cosign. So they're a little secret agent-y. Yeah. Like they make a James Bond joke at one point, and the music heavily implies secret agent. Mm-hmm. But, like, the visuals are like a mosh of high school girl's skirt with, like, shinobi-esque, like, scarf, but then, like, secret agent.
Don't like it.
No, their main outfits that they wear when they fight are not cute.
No, it's like they tried to go, like, shinobi mixed with, like, a secret agent, and it just looks really tacky. It looks like a cheap Halloween costume, like, made out of uncomfortable material, and, like, the color schemes aren't that good. The school uniforms have the same color scheme too.
Yeah, and
it's like, why?
It's interesting with the school uniform because it's a very distinctive color palette for a uniform, and I like the way that the uniform looks, particularly on the pink-haired main character girl, because, like, putting pink-haired girls in, like, nothing but purple and pink is, like, always a go-to aesthetic, like the girl from No Game No Life, you know? So, like, I totally get that, and there's obviously, like, a huge amount of purple and red going on in this show in general. Like, they just want that to be their primary color palette. Even the villain little girl, the little lolly girl, has, like, you know, purple pants. That girl, by the way, is my spirit animal. That is how I view my inner self, is as that girl from Release the Spyce, amongst many others. But she's great. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. So, but the uniforms, they don't look good on everybody else.
No.
Because they're designed for, like, a pink-haired character, first and foremost. But everybody else is, like, just kind of looks weird, wearing this very, like, aesthetic outfit. What did you think about the 3 episodes that we watched?
I was kind of hoping that it would lean more into being, like, kind of an action show and maybe at least try to put some more effort into, like, battle choreography or, like, making the fights interesting at all.
Yeah.
Like,
the pacing of this show is super strange because it doesn't so much go... It's not like an action show that has down moments. It feels like it completely changes between just being like a cute girls doing cute things, mundane, like slow as fuck show.
Yeah, but I feel like it doesn't
show.
like even get cute enough.
No.
Like, it's not quite a cute girl show and not quite enough of an action show.
I think that it's intended to be more of an action show. Like, I think they were going for something in the vein of Princess Principal.
Yeah, I think so.
As, like, another original show about, like, cute girl badasses doing secret agent shit. But,
Very
like...
undertones.
It really makes you appreciate how fucking good Princess Principal was. And, like, we were huge fans of it last year. That was, like, I mean, we didn't end up doing, like, a best of 2017, but that was, like, my number 2 for the year for most of it. And, like, this does not compare on any level. Like, the character designs are way less interesting or imaginative. The powers don't make nearly as much sense. The setting isn't unique or well-conceived. The the fights aren't as well choreographed. The animation's not as good. Like, just across the board, this is not as good as Princess Principal. But, like, it feels as though it wanted to be in that category of, like, yeah, cute girls kick ass and there's some downtime, but, like, the downtime gets so slow and meandering and fucking boring. And it's just like they're just standing around talking about their day.
Because, like, episode 2 is supposed to cover 2 months worth of training. But they, like, choose to focus on, like, the worst moments where the characters are kind of talking and, like, bonding.
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't throw anything more interesting in a 2-month span than what we got.
It's really
like,
bizarre.
Nothing to, like, develop these side characters.
Episode 2 was the one I liked the most for everything that comes, like, after the halfway point.
Mm-hmm.
And this show has moments where there's, like, where it makes smart narrative ideas that, like, I was like, yeah, that makes me want to watch more. And the best one was the fact that, she, like, the whole first half is, like, is she going to be good enough to join this group? And then she starts training under the girl, and, like, they just make her good enough. Like, it takes the time, there's a montage, there's a time skip, it's like, we see her doing specific tasks poorly, and then being shown doing those same specific tasks, like, extremely well. And it's like, wow, I understand the progression. And now she's, like, in the cast, and we don't have to wait around for her to, like, because, like, a lot of these shows, the new member just stumbles dick first into victory episode after episode because they're the main character, and, like, eventually they get good at it. But it's like, no, they just trained her. She's ready. She's as ready to go as anybody else on the team. So that I thought was neat.
And they still even have her stumble when she's actually on the team.
Yeah.
Like, she's a beginner. Like, she gets in trouble with her mentor. And
right.
Because she, like, fucks up some, like, small detail.
Yeah.
But it shows that, like, she has to keep trying.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just, you're good enough.
But it nonetheless felt like it took forever to get to the part of the episode where, like, the plot started in earnest.
Yeah.
It was, like, just a lot of time of characters sitting around talking, and even when she's training with the mentor, sometimes it just seems like they're just, like, sitting, like, having a play date at a fucking Denny's or something, just, like, hanging out at a restaurant. But, like, there's something she's telling her about their training. But, like...
It's, like, it's really stupid. It's, like, go get somebody's contact information while I drink this coffee.
Yeah.
And it's, like, that's not gonna help you be a spy.
It's like a weird
it'll help you cold approach people, but...
It's like a semi-cutesy it's like they're trying to keep it cute and funny.
Yeah.
But it's not. It never goes far enough in any one direction. Like, the story is crazy over the top, but the action isn't crazy over the top. The cute girls scenes take up a lot of time, but they're not that cute. And, like, it just is overall, like, a weird feeling show. And I kept having the phrase come into my head of, not as cool as it looked in your head. You know, especially in the action scenes. There's just lots of parts where I can imagine why somebody would plan this and think it looked really good. But, like, the execution just isn't there. Because it feels like some kind of new staff. You know?
Yeah.
And there are, like, images in this that get really weird. Like, where there's just, like, not quite as bad of multimedia as in, like, some of the other shows we were watching for this. But, like, you know, there are times where shots just get weird or wonky, or, like, the backgrounds aren't that great, or the fucking, you know, just, like, there's just shots where things look a little weird. But, like, there's a lot of shots where it feels like, oh, like, I see what you were going for, but it doesn't, it's not, you're not good enough to make it. And this applies also to the cute scenes, like, parts where it seems like they were trying to make a really cute thing happen and it just didn't quite come together. Like,
yeah,
the show looks the best when it's just head-on face shots of the characters, because they just have such good character designs.
Yeah, you could really kind of see that in the OP, where it's like...
The OP is really
did
bad.
these people ever make an OP before?
Yeah, it's one of, like, the lowest quality OPs I've seen.
Yeah.
Like, just where they didn't even nail the animation in it. Like, it just looks... You can, like, see... There's this one shot that they do of, like, the 5 girls standing in front of the school, but it looks like they kind of had to zoom it in so, like, the outlines on them is too thick. Whatever. There's a bunch of them. There's too many. I don't know who any of them are yet. Like,
Yeah.
I remember blue-haired girl because she has the coolest design, but her personality is, like, very boilerplate. Same with yellow girl. She's kind of cute. Then you got the pink-haired girl who seems to be in love with blue-haired girl, but she's done, like, almost nothing. And then there's the really cute one with the glasses, but I only remember her talking, like, once. And then the main girl who's gotten, you know, due attention. But, like, again, I assume that they will later get into more character-driven episodes, but, like, I don't know if I care enough, because episode 3 was, like, kind of cheesy, and, like, all the environments are just so basic. Like, when they go into, like, the secret base under the school, it's so unmemorable. It's, like, the most basic idea of what an underground secret base could look like.
They could have done, like, a lot of creative things with it. They just made it look like...
Yeah.
It's a dojo.
And it really gives me the feeling that, like, you know, if you just did this same show, but with more talented people behind it, or people with more experience, like, they just would have turned out... Like, you could literally take this exact same script and make a show that is much better just by replacing the visuals.
Like, in the first episode, one thing is they show, like, all their gadgets, because that's, like, a big trope in spy movies. It's like, you have all the goofy gadgets, but they never use them. Like,
no, they never do.
They never have gadgets. They just, like, use a weapon that doesn't really make sense for the scenario.
It was really weird that they even had the underground base, because it seemed like they're just 5 people who fight, you know, like, hand-to-hand and with, like, regular... They did use a device at some point. And also the one girl uses, like, masks and shit. My favorite moments in this show are sometimes things happen with, like, a really snappy, surprising way. Where, like, they take advantage of the fact that it is both an action and lighthearted show to mix those two into each other. Where, like... You might be watching a lighthearted scene, and then it becomes an action scene unexpectedly. The best part in episode 2 is when the main girl's like, she just comes and sits in class, and the other girl comes and drops a note on her desk that's like, the final test begins now. And, like, she immediately has to get up to go to the bathroom and, like, chase the other girl out a window. And it's like, that was, like, really exciting, and it had some pretty good choreography when the girl was leaping from building to building.
That was actually really cool.
Yeah, that scene was good, and
And it
then
had
in the
cool
training
music,
there was some
too.
cool leaping around and shit, some Spider-Man
The
jumping.
music during that.
Oh, the music in this show is fucking bizarre.
A lot of scenes won't have anything. Like, for most of the show, it's like there's no music.
I think that what happened is that they just, like, got the wrong sound for what they ended up with. And again, this is why I think it's, like, not as cool as they thought it would look. Because, like, the soundtrack bounces between, like, very 90s sounding, like, spy movie things that sound like the Spider-Man PS1 game. Like that bouncy, like, you know, like just on repeat endlessly. You know, just like the Mission Impossible kind of style, late 90s, like techno sound. And some of it's like really hard though. Like some of it will be going and it'll sound like really like club music during the action scenes. And then all the other songs in the soundtrack seem to be like trap and like dubstep noises.
Really weird.
There's like full-blown trap beats. And so in the first episode, weirdly, the music only really plays during action scenes. It doesn't really play during the sitting around scenes. And then in later episodes, during sitting around scenes, they'll just be playing like a hard trap song.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what is going on in this show? Like, the music makes it seem like something really exciting should be happening, and the characters are literally like, oh, would you like another glass of tea before we go into the armory? And it's just like, this feels wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, the music is definitely the weirdest thing about it, and I don't even dislike it. Like, I think it's pretty good in music for an anime soundtrack. It's just so out of place. And my theory is just that they told the soundtrack composer that they were making like a spy show, and they wanted like really modern, like a fusion. I don't know what the fuck they asked for, but like they clearly didn't ask him for any songs to score a cutesy scene. Like, there just is no song like that, so they just don't have one. And since what they ended up making came off as way more of a cute girl doing cute things show than they probably intended, all this music sounds super out of place. It just feels like a weird, like, uneducated half measure. Like, someone who really thought they were about to make Princess Principal, but, like, they just didn't have the people for that.
No.
Underestimated what 3 Hertz was capable of, and like how strong the people there are who are all like ex Production IG or some shit. I don't know where they're from.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Anyway, that's it for Release the Spyce. Should we do another show before we wrap this one up? Alright, we'll do one more. Alright, well, we just watched the first 20 minutes of a movie called Maquia, When the Promised Flower Blooms, which was a movie from like early in the year by PA Works that we had never heard of. And this is like an ugly movie masquerading as a pretty movie. How'd you feel about it?
I don't really know. I don't really even know how I feel about it.
Do you really, what did you think of the plot? Because I have to confess, I didn't really understand what was going on in this movie. Not because I think it wasn't explained, but because I had a real hard time paying attention.
Yeah.
Because I was very distracted by the visuals and how fucking weird they are.
I don't think the plot's very complex. It's just like she's from this race of people that that part wasn't really explained very well. Like, can't meet other people. They have to be excluded for whatever reason. And they just make cloth all the time. And, like,
yeah, they're like they're like immortal. It's like a society of like immortal women. Were there men there?
Yeah, there are men. But
it was
they were
a
all
society
like,
of immortals, and they were all like eternally youthful, and they all blonde, and they just like sit around and make cloth.
And then there was a bunch of dragons and knights, and they raped and pillaged.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
That's right. I remember a bad CG dragon.
Yeah, and they were gonna kidnap all the women and give them to the king.
There were a lot of moments in this movie that were like almost jump ship moments for me, and all of them were visual. It was always because I saw some weird shit. I just gotta say, this is gonna be a theme because I know I can't stop bringing it up when I watch 2018 anime. Anime has become really like multimedia in a way that it just isn't doing well. Because the problem is that they mix in so much CG shit, and it's not just like a cohesive CG style, it's like multiple styles of CG shit are happening in these shows. And like, you've got stuff where there's 2D animation happening with the characters, and then also 3D character models that look a lot like the 2D ones, but you can sometimes tell that it's 3D. And then you've got, like, just 3D environments mixed with 2D environments in the background art. And just, like,
Weird.
Sometimes, like, we're stopped on a shot right now where the background and foreground look like completely different shows. The background looks like, it's like one of the cleanest looking CGI backgrounds I've ever seen, because they put shit tons of lighting effects on it to make it look fancy. So it looks like a photograph of like some kind of fancy hallway in like a palace with like just two-tone shaded regular ass anime characters over top of it that look like they have nothing to do with the setting they're in. And it's fucking baffling. 'Cause like the CG is so much worse than the 2D in this movie, and there are shots that are like breathtakingly beautiful, and some of them even use like a combination of CG and 2D, but like the animation looks wrong. There's one shot where like a dragon is flying over these misty mountainsides, and it's got like all these fucking silk things like trailing on its wings, and the girl is clinging to one of those. And it's like this panned out shot, and the dragon's fully silhouetted, and the like you see this full shot of like the white clouds on the fucking mountains, and it looks awesome, except that the CGI dragons with the stupid CGI trails on it are like barely animated back and forth, and it's all I can think about. It's like, man, if you freeze framed on this, I bet it would look pretty good. But when you see the stupid CGI, it completely shatters the illusion. And it's like, there's one scene where there's like the CGI dragon is chasing the girl, and like they had her like literally jump over one of its like toes, and like the integration was actually pretty good. Like the choreography between the 3D and 2D animation worked well. It was just that they looked so different from each other, and the 3D model looked so bad that it just comes off looking bad. And so it's like, man, they put a lot of effort into making something that looks bad. Yeah, that
looks like this. That looks wrong.
It's like they were trying to shoot above, like they were trying to do something more ambitious than they had the means to do and make look good, you know?
Yeah.
And like, if you're gonna do like a mixed media approach, you just gotta fucking own up to it. Like, Tom is always talking about how the biggest problem with 3D anime is that it's not good as 3D. It's like they're trying to make anime out of 3D models instead of making good 3D anime, you know? Because like 3D filmmaking is huge. Like 3D filmmaking exists outside of anime and is great. And it's in video games constantly. So, like, you can do 3D well. It's just that what anime tries to do with 3D is to bend it to the will of what would look like anime. And it doesn't work. You just gotta make a 3D show.
Instead of playing to the strengths of the medium, they're just, like, downgrading it to, like...
It's really...
anime level.
And the only reason they're doing it is because it's cheaper this way.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's cheaper to use the 3D assets... Because if you just have a 3D environment, you can shoot it from every angle and you don't have to redraw it. And you can put lighting effects on it. And, like, you know, there's good reasons to use, or with 3D models, you can have something that has a shit ton of detail and you don't have to redraw it 8,000 times. You just have to animate it, you know. Which is like what the dragon was. Because dragons are difficult to fucking animate well in 2D, but... just don't do a dragon if you can't do it. You know, if you don't have a competent enough 3D animator to make it look good, just don't bother with the dragon. At least get a good 3D model, like something that matches the aesthetic of your fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Oh, I fucking swallowed while I was burping. Oh, no! Do you have anything to add about this movie? She picked up a baby.
There was not a lot of sound.
Yeah. There's weirdly no sounds in this movie. Okay, that was my first wanting to jump off point. Was early into the film, there's this part where, like the early part of the movie where I couldn't really tell what the fuck was going on because it was really slow and boring, was like when she was just at home amongst her people and they were like explaining how the world that they live in works or whatever. And like there's this long sequence of like, I don't know, her hanging out with her mother or something. I don't know what the fuck it was, because there was just no sound at all. And all I was distracted by was that it seemed like they were trying to make a poignant or dramatic scene, but because of the fact that it seemed like there should be sounds, and like the characters aren't speaking, so they could have made it like a scene where you can hear sound effects, but there's no speaking. But there's just no sounds at all. And it's just really weird. And you're like, why aren't there any sounds?
Imagine seeing this in theaters.
I would have been like, what in the fuck?
Yeah, like, why even bother making a movie?
I mean, that's just kind of the way things are right now. It's like, yeah, they just go, well, we can afford to make it if we make it out of these elements. But it's like, did the different teams, like, work closely enough together and, like, you know, to have a unified vision? Is it even possible to combine these styles and have it look good without, like, drawing attention to it? Like, mixed media looks the best when you push it as far as you can. When you make it really, like, alright, we're gonna super stylize every element of it, and it's gonna look right together because it's so outlandish, you know? But, like, this looks like they tried to make something that looks normal and fucked it up, you know?
I also didn't really like the character designs because the girl had like a weird chin and it was like, oh, this is grotesque.
It seemed like they were trying to make something that was like moe enough to be moe, but like not moe. Like they wanted to, because this movie is based on like a novel, so it's like, it's kind of a high fantasy, like, story-driven. Like, I know there's an audience who would probably really like this movie. Like, people who don't care about aesthetics at all and just want to watch, like, a plot-driven fantasy, like, adventure movie with some mature themes and, like, some... There's, like, a pretty dark scene where she has to, like, wrestle a fucking baby out of the hands of her dead mother who's got a fucking sword in her neck. Like... It's got some dark shit, and it's got some, like, political intrigue and stuff, but, like, it is so ugly that, like, it's difficult to want to consume this version of the story. Mm-hmm. It's like, I would rather just read a novel, and, like, it's not super distinct, it's just, like, you know, it just feels like a story, a halfway decent fantasy story. It doesn't feel like the gimmicks are so unique that it would make me go, wow, I have to consume this one. I guess the fact that it's like a young girl who has to raise, like go with the baby is kind of a neat gimmick. But I've seen shit like that in Mobile Suit Gundam F91, which has the best ever, where a giant mecha bullet casing falls and kills a woman, and her baby's just left, and the heroes just take it with them, and it's with them for the rest of the movie. Already seen that before. But in a movie that looks incredible. Gundam F91 looks fucking incredible. And, like, looking at this and thinking about that is, like, really funny. Like, the image that we're on, because this is a particularly bad image.
It's pretty gross. It's the
but
guy's
yeah,
nose.
I think that because this is, like a fantasy book, they wanted it to be, like, marketable to people who aren't necessarily into anime or moe. But, like, while still drawing in that crowd. And so they made the girls, like, a little off, like, a little too weirdly round of face. It's almost like a girly style, but it doesn't go in enough on that. It doesn't go in enough on anything. So yeah, I don't like it very much. That's it for this episode of Finish or Fail!